Let's see if Stephen in Carlisle is one of those. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hi, George.
Hi, mate.
I'd like to say the reason that every MP in Westminster opposes an English Parliament is because one would put them out of work overnight, virtually. You just made the point about how Scottish MPs are voting in England. They can't vote on matters in their own country, Scotland, and nor can any other MP in the whole of the United Kingdom. The Scottish Parliament has made you and all the other MPs in Westminster redundant in Scotland, and an English Parliament would make them redundant everywhere.
Wouldn't it be cheaper just to stop Scottish MPs voting on English matters?
Well, not really. It's not a question of cost. I want an English Parliament to focus on England, just as the Scottish Parliament focuses on Scotland.
Well, it does on minor devolved matters.
Well, Stephen. It doesn't really, because a lot of people have made, some people have made the case about, you made the case about tuition fees and how you try to stop them. They're not focusing on England, they're focusing on the United Kingdom. But my point is really that...
No, they're not, and that's a bad example, Stephen, because the Westminster Parliament does not control tuition fees in Scotland. But
that's the point I'm making.
Well, but let me finish. But it does control them in England, and if we simply banned everyone except MPs for English constituencies voting on it, then hey presto, you've got an English Parliament. Why do you need to build a new building and elect a whole new raft of politicians? I'm surprised at this desire...
Allow me to say what my proposal is.
Shut up and I'll let you in a minute. I'm surprised at this thirst...
Gordon Brown.
I'm surprised at this thirst for a brand new generation of elected politicians. I thought most people in the country were sick of MPs, and you're wanting more of them.
What I want is an English Parliament to focus on England. The United Kingdom Parliament, which would be left voting on matters, foreign matters, the European Union, foreign policy, defence, and the overall UK budget could be vastly reduced, because you'd all be redundant. You would have no decision making at all on domestic policies. And that Parliament, the UK Parliament, could then have a place in Scotland where it could go. It could use the House of Lords in England. It could go to Wales. And that's already been done, by the way. We've had the Cabinet go into Scotland. We've had it go into the West Midlands. So it's not a new idea. So
no, but it would be a new Parliament, Steve.
Well, yeah, but the Yugoslavs did it for many years. They had the Parliament roved around.
Well, there's a marvelous example. The Yugoslavia. There's a marvelous example. What happened? And what happened?
And the European Union caused the bust-up of Yugoslavia.
And what happened when it bust up?
Well, we had a civil war, didn't we?
Well, they had several civil wars.
Yeah.
Don't you see the dangers of this kind of petty nationalism?
No, I don't, because it wouldn't happen here. Why would it happen here?
Well, I dare say...
You're refusing me democracy. Why can't I have a referendum on an English Parliament?
Well,
you voted for the Scots to have a referendum on the Scottish Parliament, but you're refusing me one on an English Parliament.
Stephen, in Carlisle, you're sufficiently close that we used to say you were merely a Scotsman with your brain bashed in.
Well, that's what we say about the Scots and the Irish.
I know you do, I know. And listen, I'm not refusing you democracy at all. You could have whatever you want. I'm just putting this to you. Are you really sure that the 50 million English people want to pay more taxes, to pay salaries and expenses and build buildings and employ civil servants so that you can wave your little English flag around with a bit more gusto?
Well, I'm willing to ask them in a referendum. You're not. And nor is Gordon Brown, and nor is any other MP in Westminster, because an English Parliament would make you all redundant overnight.
Stephen,
what say do you have in Scotland, George?
Stephen,
you have no say at all.
But do I sound as if I'm worried about that, Stephen?
Well,
I mean, get a life.
No, because you lived in England 20 years, so that makes you an Englishman, doesn't it?
26 years. Stephen, get a life. The world is in flames. There are crises, economic, political, social, health, environmental crises. Get a life. You're raving.
Talk about health, right?
You're raving. Stephen, I've heard you before. You rave on about this English Parliament. Don't you think you're being a little bit parochial? Don't you understand that the English people are a great people? a people known throughout the world, whose language bestrides the globe like a colossus, whose writers, whose poets, whose philosophers, whose engineers, whose bridge builders, and so on, are legend throughout the world. Don't you understand that England is so big, and big ought to be big enough not to want to have to build another parliament in which English people can wave their flag around? Don't you understand that one of the best things about the English is that they are not petty nationalists?
Let me tell you this, George. 6 miles away, people in Scotland can get bowel cancer screening between the ages of 50 and 74. Me, in Carlisle, and I'm 56, I don't qualify for bowel cancer screening until
That's a
I'm 60.
disgrace. That's a disgrace,
Yeah,
Stephen.
yes, but
that's not
that's why we need an English Parliament.
No, why do you keep saying that? You could have free bowel screening at 56 on Monday morning if your Westminster MPs would vote for it. But they won't vote for it. The answer is not to build a new parliament that you hope might vote for it. The answer is to force your members of parliament to vote for it. And if they won't, then change them, Stephen.
That's no answer at all. That's why you got a Scottish Parliament. That's why you
Don't keep saying you, because I have nothing to do with it. I'm an MP in the East End of London. I've lived in London 26 years, and I intend to continue living in London, Stephen. But play this back tomorrow, my dear, and just see the inherent, intrinsic pettiness in your approach. I'm telling you that your MP in Carlisle could get you free screening tomorrow. He's a Labour MP. Labour's in power. The Labour government could give you free screening for bowel cancer tomorrow, just like they've got in Scotland. The problem is not the Parliament, the problem is the people in it. Ed in Chester's up next, but after this.